So you're learning to fit your clothes, and I know you see the wrinkles, the lines, all these things you need to adjust, but you're thinking, how are you supposed to read the wrinkles, so to say, to figure out what alteration you need to do to your toile or mock-up to fix it? That is, of course, what we're going to talk about today, is how to look at the lines, how to read the wrinkles, and figure out what alterations you might actually need to make this fit you perfectly. Sewing friends, welcome back to another fitting video. We are on a bit of a roll, right, with these fit topics, and I'm really enjoying it because you're actually giving me all the ideas for all of these videos. So thank you for all the comments and things that you leave here and things that you're struggling with, because this is how I get my ideas to make these videos. And of course, this was one of them. It doesn't take long in any of your fitting journey, whether you're just starting or whether you're, well into it, is the term reading the wrinkles. And you see the lines and things and you think, well, what am I supposed to do about those lines, right? So there was a video last week and we talked about how to figure out what a good fit looks like, because, well, it is subjective, and I gave you some pointers, and that's all in a video from last week. I'll link that down below. We are looking at what to do with these lines and wrinkles. Now, I just want to point out that this is not a video on these lines equal this alteration. That is not this video. This is how to really start viewing, and your perspective of how you're looking at it, how you can look at any toile or mock-up and start to figure out for yourself what you need to do to make it sort of fit and work. Not just as in like these lines equal that. That's not this video. I want you to have the understanding to be able to figure it out really, really well for yourself, so you can make anything fit you, because that's the goal, right? I want that for you, to be able to fit anything to your body for you just the way you want it. Okay, so first up, start with all the things that I talked about in last week's video in how to start. So, you always fit on yourself, take the photographs and videos you need, and ask yourself the questions: how does it look? How does it feel? So they're all in there, but they're the main ones into getting started. We know, you've found the things that you want to change. Let's look at now reading the wrinkles. Well, the first way to tell is usually that the lines point to the problem, at least in most cases. There's always exceptions, absolutely, and it's just an indicator to help you. So what do I mean? So all of these lines, and you'll hear this a lot in social media, often point to the problem, because that's a stress point and the lines are coming, from there. But I want you to make sure that you think about, and we've got some examples coming up, and don't worry, we'll evolve this topic as we go. But this one here, so for example, you've got lines here, and you might think, oh, it must be the bust line, right? Or is it lines pointing down towards the side seam and pointing towards the neckline that is the problem? As I said, sometimes it can be quite tricky, but it is an indicator of where to start looking, is follow the lines. And the same thing with pooling, extra fabric, gaping. Start with all of those, like the gaping, the lines, the drag lines, the pooling of fabrics. Start there, and that's when they'll start to point to the places that need the altering. And now all you really need to do to look at this and what to do is, it's just a case of either adding or subtracting fabric to make the lines go away. And so you can add or subtract fabric both horizontally, vertically, and of course diagonally on any rotation through the garment. So we're just looking at what do we need to add or subtract fabric wise to get rid of the lines. And don't worry, examples coming up. Now this is where it gets a bit more complicated, and if you haven't started any pattern adjusting yet, I apologize. This is probably a bit I'll use some terms that maybe you're not quite familiar with yet, but the way that you would add or subtract the fabric essentially that you need to make it fit would be either to slash and spread. So either, that's where we slash our pattern and we spread it open or closed. So adding or subtracting fabric. We either do this across the whole body somewhere, or to a pivot point. Say like the bust point, for example. We would slash and spread to a bust point because we can pivot our pattern on that point. Now, explaining all this different terminology, if you're not there, it's kind of beyond the scope of this video, but don't worry, it's very easy to learn. This basically the how to do these things All of that is in Vintage Sewing School. That's what I do there. It's all there in step-by-step lessons to learn these foundations of pattern making. So either just look up the terms online or come join me at Vintage Sewing School because I have it all step by step. They're the sort of foundations that we start with. So slashing and spreading and pivoting, we're minusing and subtracting that fabric. I would absolutely love to help you on your pattern making journey. So I'm going to leave links down below to vintagesewingschool.com where you can come join me and I can help you through all that, the how to do all of this stuff that is in there. Let's focus on reading the wrinkles. So figure out what you might need to add or subtract. Let me give you an example. So you might have, let's just get this arm out of the way. Say you've got some pooling of fabric at the back. It's quite common, right? It is a very common misdiagnosed issue, is the pooling of the fabric. And you've got lines coming through here, and on this, you've got lines coming through here, and you think, I need to do a sway back adjustment, right? And if you look and you see the tutorial, the general tutorial for a sway back tutorial is to take away, because you've got extra fabric, so you're thinking of taking it away through the back here, right? And so you literally want to do this on your toile or mock-up here to figure out if it is indeed the correct alteration. And this is how you read the wrinkles. You figure it out. So literally pin all of this in, and I have more examples of this in a minute. But if you find when you do this and it's all pinned in as if it was like you've made that pattern adjustment, this is terrible pinning, don't judge me on this, as if you've made the pattern adjustment, but you find it actually just moves your side seam back here rather than taking care of the pooling problem. You've actually just shifted your side seam and actually created more wrinkles, then you know that that wasn't the issue that you need to do. Maybe when you, as I said, when you literally add and subtract the fabric from your toile here to figure it out, maybe it's that, where did it go? I obviously didn't read that wrinkle correctly. Maybe I need to add fabric through the seam here to actually make those wrinkles go away. So let's try it. By opening this up and let's say adding more fabric at our side seam here has actually eliminated the pooling of fabric at the back because the garment has been able to actually fall down with more room, and it's eliminated those drag lines at the front where it was pulling too tight. See, reading the wrinkles, but they're not always what they maybe tell you to do. So you read them and you figure out if you need to add fabric to maybe make the wrinkles go away or subtract fabric to make the wrinkles go away. So again, like the lines, what would you need to do to make this go away? A gaping neckline's a fairly easy one. You would take this out and then you, with all your pattern making knowledge, you will learn how to pivot this out to the bust point and actually rotate that somewhere else. Again, the how-tos of all these specific ones are, I have already made those videos in Vintage Sewing School. That's where I keep all of those. We're keeping it on point today. And I've got another example for you. So let's say a full bust adjustment, for example, and you're trying to figure out, you've seen the wrinkles, you think, yes, that looks like it's pointing to the bust, and I need to like add more fabric to actually, it looks like you want to slash those open and open it out to give it more room, right? That's what it looks like it needs, reading the wrinkles. Then go and look at the tutorial and figure out what you'll be doing and look at where you're adding paper on your thing, on your like pattern alteration, and then actually add it to your toile, your mock-up here, and actually slash it in at those lines and add fabric as if you were adding paper so you can get a gauge and a guide and really see if that has in fact taken care of like the lines and the stress points and the drag lines and the gate. That's how you do it. And again, and taking out fabric, of course, is just pinning it in as if it was taken out. So are you getting what I mean here? Literally, you read the wrinkles by looking and seeing where all the lines go and thinking, do I need to add some fabric or take away, both lengthwise, horizontally and vertically, to make those go away, and literally do it to your toile, your mock-up. That's the point. That's why you have one, to see if it actually helps reduce those lines and wrinkles. Honestly, I found this the easiest way to try and learn to fit garments because, as we've talked about in other videos, it's never just one thing, one alteration you need to do. It's always a bunch of little things. And when you think about it as molding and sculpting rather than just the something alteration, the other type of alteration, and you look at it like this, you can really start to fit anything, any garment. You've got the understanding of how to look at those lines and do this to your toile so you can figure out what you need to do. Add fabric here, take it away there. That's all we're doing in molding and sculpting the garment to fit our bodies. Now, the number one rule after all this is don't overfit it. We talked about this last time as well. Overfitting is a thing and it happens to all of us. I did this so much and I still have to ramble myself back sometimes from overfitting. There will always be some line, some wrinkle. As soon as you move your body, there's always movement and lines that happen. There'll always be something that you think is something that is wrong. And you could go on forever. I could still go on forever and point out and keep changing little things for eternity. No, don't do that. Don't overfit it. Just focus on the main things that you see that are the problems that you want to fix and just go there. And there's definitely a time to call it a day. And then just maybe take it to your next one, your next one, your next one. And you'll keep getting better as you do different ones. But don't overfit, because if you try and tweak it way too much, it just becomes way worse than it was originally. Have you been there? I know. I would love to hear your stories if you've overfitted something too before, because boy, oh, do I have some stories. Okay, let me know in the comments below, what are you going to take to your next fitting to actually read the wrinkles better and help you get a better fit. I'd love to hear your takeaways down below, because it helps me to create better videos for you and know what's really helpful. And remember to read those comments, because there might just be some great answers for you as well. Check the description box for other videos that I know will really find useful. For that one from last week, if you didn't watch it, it's a great follow-up to this one to continue on your learning. And until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing and happy fitting, and hopefully getting rid of those wrinkles. Bye.